Resident Evil is dead. The series has been an unstoppable force of survival horror goodness for over 15 years. For a long time it was a brand that rarely failed to impress, particularly in its main series of games. Fans and critics praised Resident Evil 4 for reinventing the third-person shooter, the 2003 title going on to influence games like Gears of War and Dead Space. Unfortunately, despite great sales, Resident Evil 5 didn't receive the same praise as its predecessor. Some fans lamented the loss of the survival horror aspects, and Capcom's favouring of a more action approach, while others criticised the game's seemingly archaic game design and partner AI. Now Resident Evil 6 is here, supported by a hefty budget from Capcom, and with the return of popular character Leon S. Kennedy fighting his first zombie horde since Resident Evil 2, things might be on the up for this dwindling brand.
Back for more?
So, have Capcom developed another defining title that will go on to influence future games, or is history repeating itself? Is Resident Evil once again in need of a makeover?
Another round.
Okay, maybe it's not in need of a makeover, but Resident Evil 6 is in need of a nip and tuck. There is a lot of content, 4 separate campaigns, each telling different stories, which all come to fruition at the end. Though many will favour a certain campaign over another, it seems like Capcom has tried to give us a mix of everything we've seen before.
I can't believe this is happening again. It's just like Raccoon.
Leon's story starts in a Californian university. Here we find our favourite floppy-haired Secret Service agent caught in the middle of yet another zombie apocalypse.
I just shot the president.
He had already been infected by the time we found him. Leon did what he had to. He saved my life.
However, instead of being in the town after the virus outbreak, Leon and his newfound partner, Helena Harper, are there from the beginning, referring back to the opening cutscene of Resident Evil 3, Nemesis.
Hannigan was right. Everything's gone to hell.
Instead of having a president's daughter to save this time, Leon has teamed up with Helena to find out who has caused the outbreak and where this new C virus has come from. Helena claims responsibility for the outbreak from the get-go, and the mystery surrounding her involvement is the focal point of Leon's campaign.
You're gonna tell me everything once we get to the cathedral. Deal?
On the other side of the globe, we find yet another series veteran, Chris Redfield. Now fronting his own BSAA team, Chris and wannabe leader Pierce Nivens find themselves in China, where a biohazard outbreak has just begun.
BSAA.
Yeah. It's where you belong.
With enemies in the form of Joavo, Chris finds himself in a similar situation to his exploits in Resident Evil 5. Compared to Leon's campaign, which opts for scares and the macabre, Chris's tale is more action-orientated. Whether it's saving hostages or defending an extraction point, you'll find yourself running from one gunfight to another, sometimes coming across grotesque mutations that aim to mix up the combat. In the third campaign, new player Jake Mueller, a young mercenary and son of previous antagonist Albert Wesker, is hired by Resident Evil 2's Sherry Birkin. Now a government agent, Sherry believes Jake's blood is the answer to the terrorist threat posed by Neo Umbrella.
Wait, what?
You could be the key to saving this world, Jake Mueller.
Save myself first.
However, she's not the only one who's after his blood. A new BOW called the Oosternak is also after Jake and begins a relentless pursuit of the duo. This is obviously a reference to the Nemesis and the Tyrant that pursued Sherry in Resident Evil 2.
Okay, we go with your plan.
The fourth and final act features the much-loved Ada Wong. This campaign is the only one where you can't have cooperative play, and it isn't available from the start of the game. Her story focuses more on what's going on behind the scenes of the other campaigns. Featuring more riddles and stealth elements, Ada's campaign is the most different.
You've got my prints on file. You're not playing around, are you?
Each campaign has 5 chapters, all of which last from 1 to 2 hours each, averaging around 30 hours of gameplay. With the return of Mercenaries mode and numerous in-game collectibles, there's plenty of content to keep you playing.
Tell the men we're moving out.
So essentially, With mercenaries included, Resident Evil 6 is 5 games in one. However, there is a lot of junk. But even if Capcom had cut some of it out, Resident Evil 6 is no pioneer of the action genre. As for being a cinematic survival horror, I think it's fair to say that Dead Space currently holds the #1 spot for that genre.
Welcome to the club.
In Resident Evil 4, the enemies were coordinated and this made them deadly and in some cases unpredictable. In Resident Evil 6, enemies are brain dead. I know, right? They're zombies, of course they are, but that's besides the point. They lock onto a victim, often favouring the player over AI control partners, and they will ignore all of the targets until they lose sight of their original prey or are shot at by someone else. In some instances, Joavo enemy types have been seen standing next to a potential target but so focused on firing their weapon at someone else who's behind cover. That's poor programming if you ask me. You have to play the game on veteran to get a real challenge. Ammo and health drops aren't as frequent, so every bullet counts. However, sometimes it's worth holstering your gun and acting all Jackie Chan on the zombie horde. The melee combat is unbalanced, but in favour of the player. You can destroy one of the walking corpses into a bloody mess with 2 or 3 well-placed punches. You can quickly counter by squeezing the right trigger when prompted. In Resident Evil 6, gone is all the anxiety of AI management. Your AI partner can't die, doesn't need to be healed, has infinite ammo, and pretty much follows any basic command.
Move in! Roger!
So there's no added advantage to playing the game with someone else. If you're after a challenge, then play the game on co-op because it really ramps up the difficulty.
You're not getting off that easy. Come on.
There are some great co-op moments, usually involving one player defending another, but there's also a lot of opening doors together. Skills are another new addition. Rather than use the old system where you would spend gold you've earned to buy new weapons and upgrades, you now spend skill points on unlocking numerous abilities. You have free skill slots and a huge selection of skills to choose from. This time, an upgrade for a weapon, for instance a faster reload speed or higher damage rating, applies to all weapons. You can also buy defense upgrades and other skills such as a higher frequency of ammo drops. It's a new method, but it's more of a downgrading of the established system from the last 2 games.
What are you buying? You see one of them, aim for the head. It's your best bet.
Got it.
The evidence speaks for itself. This is the best looking Resident Evil game ever. The environments are surprisingly detailed and the characters' movements are fluid and realistic. Despite some minor brightness issues, the game sports some fantastic lighting effects, providing the game with a spooky atmosphere.
Not my lucky day.
Shooting zombies and Joavo has never looked so good. Bullets actually puncture the flesh, and the mutations, albeit very silly, look and sound extremely painful. The voice acting is top notch, even if the script is a little unconvincing in places. Though it may seem that Leon has lost his cocky attitude in favour of a more dramatic one, the voice actor still delivers a great performance.
My daughter! She's all alone! If we don't do something...
All right, I get it. But if you don't keep it down, you won't live to save her. You understand?
I'm a huge fan of the classic Resident Evil series. I loved Resident Evil 4, but I was upset to say goodbye to the old gameplay. It seems that Capcom aren't struggling to let go. Resident Evil 6 tries so hard to be a more accessible game, giving you combat roles, the option for unlimited ammo, and regenerating health. It definitely feels more commercial, though a lot of fan service keeps that sparkle of hope that maybe one day, just one day, we'll see Resident Evil steal the throne from Dead Space.